Now, as many of you will know, on June 18th, 2023, the submersible known as Titan embarked on a diving mission to explore the wreck of the RMS Titanic, an ocean liner that sank in the wee hours of the morning on April 15th, 1912, just 4 days after launch. Now, the Titan expedition on paper was a bit routine, as it had dived to the wreck 6 times in 2021, 7 in 2022, and 1 earlier in 2023. But this time, it would be anything but routine. Within 2 hours of the dive, all communication was lost, and in the next few days, a massive search and rescue operation was undertaken by the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard, assisted by other members of NATO, which captured the media throughout the world. Sadly, it is now known that Titan most likely suffered a catastrophic failure within hours of the expedition, which likely killed all members on board almost immediately. Now, what nobody knows yet is what caused the tragedy. What we do know is that Titan appears to have suffered a massive implosion. But other than that, no one really knows for now. Now, the majority of experts point out the inherent safety concerns of Titan. But there will always be some rogue theorists. With Megalodon Day having been just 3 days before launch, and Shark Week coming up, there are already some outline theorists that have proposed the idea that Titan was attacked by a megalodon. Now, as a cryptozoologist, I would love for there to be some evidence that Megalodon is still out there. And on the graphic, full screen graphic, you can see my theory on Megalodon. Give you a couple minutes to pause out and just check it out if you want. But as a scientist, I would caution you to jump to any conclusion just yet, particularly that conclusion. So with that in mind, let's look at the evidence both for and against. Now, on the graphic here, we have a size comparison of a diver, Titan, and Megalodon. Now, as you can see, Megalodon would be big enough to see Titan as potential food. So this does leave the door open for a Megalodon to have been the culprit. But being big enough to see something as potential, and we really need to underline and italicize see and potential, but being big enough to see something as potential food does not mean being big enough for that something to be food. To help with that disparity, we should first consider not just jaw pressure in comparison to water pressure, but overall bite force in comparison to overall water force. Now, the upper limit of jaw pressure for Megalodon is about 40,000 pounds per square inch, spread over roughly an area of 99 square feet, or roughly 14,000 square inches. So the overall force is just over 500 million pounds. So keep that in mind for later. Now, that sounds like a lot of force, and okay, it is a lot of force, but is that more force than what Titan feels at the wreck of the Titanic? Well, the water pressure at Titanic is roughly 6,000 pounds per square inch, which at first seems to make it have a smaller overall force, as it is 5 times less pressure. But now it's spread over an area of over 760 square feet, or just shy of 110,000 square inches, over 7 times the area of a megalodon bite. So the overall force for the water at the wreck is just over 0.6 billion pounds, almost 100 million pounds more than the overall force of a megalodon bite. Sidebar, it should be noted that these calculations assume the largest jaw possible for a megalodon, and by default, the maximum amount of force a megalodon can produce. Many of the jaws you see in museums and aquarium are smaller than what these calculations are assuming, and by default would produce less overall jaw force. So while the makers of Titan may not have designed it with the jaw pressure of a megalodon in mind, it's just as possible they may not have considered the size of the submersible and how that would have affected the overall force from the water at the depth of the Titanic. Maybe there's a reason why deep sea submersibles are small. This leads us back to what the experts are saying about this sub. It was never certified by anything or anyone for that matter, and many people were calling it out for the potential safety concerns, many of which OceanGate failed to consider. The Kyber carbon hull was never tested to cope with the potential force and pressure at the wreck of the Titanic. Josh Gates of Expedition Unknown actually considered going on to explore the Titanic and ultimately decided against it, citing safety concerns, including safety concerns for the long-term use of Titan after repeated dives. Because of these reasons, don't get your hopes up that this is going to be the smoking gun that proves the existence of a megalodon. That said, I do think looking into a potential megalodon attack as part of a larger investigation is something to consider. And with Discovery Channel's Sharkzilla, an investigation would be fairly simple.
Yeah, boy.
Not to mention a solid crowd pleaser.
Damn!
Regardless if it confirms or denies it. But for now, I wouldn't get your hopes up as this being proof of megalodons still being out there. Thanks for watching. If you like what I do here, please subscribe to my channel. And be sure to click the bell button so you don't miss any new videos. And while you're at it, please consider subscribing to my other channel here, where I do a bit of a behind-the-scenes look at who I am, what I like to do in my free time when I'm not making videos about cryptozoology. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.